Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmitam Mena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Daivim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. जय श्री राधा गिरधारी भगवान की जय, जगतगुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. So, first of all, thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, Hare Grace Punbege Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for giving me opportunity to study and share my realization and training us as well. So, we are actually currently studying Nectar of Instruction Text 2. So we will begin with actually the verse recitation and the translation as usual. So let me share the screen. Okay. Can you see the screen now, Prabhu?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so okay, let's start with our intermediate class devotees first, and then if anybody from the leaders sangha, once they join, if they want to actually join the recitation as well, they can do that.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Yes.
Am I audible clear?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, you are audible.
Thank you, Shital Prabhu. Thank you, Sanjay Prabhu. Thank you, His Grace Amrit Prabhu. Our guest Purna Panna Mataji and Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for training us and for these programs. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha lolyam cha shadbir bhakti vinashyati. Translation: one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. First, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievement. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Mataji.
Hi, Prabhuji. Thank you, Shital Prabhuji. Thank you, Sanjeev Prabhuji, for training us. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, Hare Grace Purna Praja Mataji, His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhuji, for giving us this platform. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangasya lolyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. Translation: one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulation only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6, being greedy for mundane achievements. Thank you.
Yes, Om Prabhu, you can recite as well.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Shital. Thank you, His Grace Shital Prabhuji. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji. Her Grace Purna Padya Devi Mataji. And His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhuji for organizing these classes. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha lolyam cha Shabdir Bhaktir Vinashyati. Translation. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. First, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the scriptural rule and regulation only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsical. Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So I think last time we have actually discussed, so far the Atyahar, and also we discussed the actually next point, that is actually prayas, right? So and thank you, Pradhan Prabhu, for actually sharing your actually realization on our last week's class as well, and the question that you posted. So Prabhuji, so we actually discussed last time briefly that actually we can actually look at the what is the actually answer there for the Prabhuji's question. So so Prabhuji, what you posted there is basically what you're asking there is that actually there's someone who is actually materially poor, right? And there is someone who's actually maybe born in a wealthy family. So what you asked is that actually the one who's born in wealthy family, he has actually probably enough time to actually do the puja, do the chanting, scriptural study, and all that, because he do not have to work hard to get the money. Whereas the poor person, I think he still has to spend a lot of time working, so he can earn something, and that's why he do not have the time. So you're asking the poverty is the actually limiting factor, right, to perform his devotional service. Is that a question, Prabhuji? Did I get it right?
Yes, sure. Like, if poor person needs to work too much. He gets less time to do more activities.
Okay. So, Prabhuji, first means, is that a hypothetical question, or is that actually is your personal question, or you're actually asking on behalf of somebody you know?
Uh, it's on behalf of somebody also, and it's for my personal question also, probably.
Yes. So yeah, depend actually. The answer it may change, to person, because everybody's situation is different. But actually, because I was actually meditating on this question as well, and so far, what we have learned in this program, and actually, if you look at the Srila Prabhupada instruction as well. So the Srila Prabhupada actually, in I think it comes in a nectar of instruction as well, that he mentioned further that for someone to become Krishna conscious, he does not need anything from this material world, not a single rupee, right? So Srila Prabhupada said anybody can actually, he can sit under a tree, and he can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and he can become Krishna conscious, So the material things are not an obstacle on the path of actually spiritual progress or somebody becoming Krishna conscious. So yes, actually, this is actually what Srila Prabhupada said, but how that is actually practically applicable, that's another thing. So whereas, so what that mean is that Krishna consciousness, that is actually basically our love for Krishna, our relationship with Krishna, it is already there in everyone's heart. So this is a process of reviving it, rejuvenating that relationship. Mhm. So, Srila Prabhupada says that it is not something we're taking it from outside. Definitely not from this material world, and definitely it will not require material opulence to become Krishna conscious. Actually, the greatest devotees that we see, the examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, the many devotees who are actually, as Amrish Prabhu also mentioned many times, the actual pure devotee is a pauper, right? So he do not have anything. He do not possess material opulence. Normally, they uh, voluntarily give up the opulence, right? So, so from this example, what we can conclude is that definitely material progress will not actually help your actually spiritual progress, right? Material wealth will not help your spiritual progress. And in fact, it can become a hurdle if you have too much of it, because you may actually use it in a wrong way, right? So, as Srila Prabhupada also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, actually in chapter 6, there was this discussion. Whereas there's if you're born in an aristocratic family, right? So, there is a more chances that you will get into the bad habits of actually drinking or womanizing or actually gambling. So, it is always better, not to have too much opulence. But I'm not saying if anybody is too rich, they cannot become Krishna conscious. They can definitely, if they actually they are detached, right, and they can manage their wealth or utilize the wealth in Krishna's service. So that is one way to look at it. But His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, he's also in one of the transcendental mellows, he says that actually the grahasthas especially, they should have a constant flow of Lakshmi coming in, right? The money should come in, right? So actually he's less engrossed running behind the money, and actually he can devote more time towards a devotional service. So how to look at all the two different actually the points here. So certainly that's why I ask, is that somebody who's asking, because everybody's situation is different. Because so we can actually give the actually answer according to who's asking and what his situation is. So for example, you said poor. So what is the definition of poor? Okay. So actually the very actually text that we're currently studying, next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada talks about it, about the dharma. Even actually, when you actually, following the dharma, the religious system, even that gives you material prosperity, we should not engage that for the sense gratification, one point. And we only accept to the point that we can satisfy our bare necessities of life. Okay, this is instruction, right? Because Srila Prabhupada is saying that one should live with the bare necessities. No, we should not actually try to actually become too opulent or actually engage whatever we get material wealth. We do not want to pamper ourselves with material things too much, because that's again become a hurdle because we get attached to it. So, Prabhuji, then the question that you asked, the poverty, the person is actually putting so much effort in earning money. So it's depend on his condition, is that he is earning money to have better standard of life, or is he really poor that he do not have food to eat? So it depend on actually who's asking and what his situation is. But certainly, as Guru Maharaj says, for grahastha life, you should have actually constant flow of Lakshmi. The money should coming in. So you are not too much stressed or anxious about actually worried about actually earning the money, right? So you can focus, which is also good. So devotee, should actually they should be actually try to make arrangements that is favorable for devotional service wherever is possible. Is that actually do you understand the point what I'm trying to make here, Prabhuji?
Yes, sir.
So it's certainly not a hurdle because depend. Even actually, everybody actually they may be born in a middle class family. So in a middle class family, you will definitely have actually the food to eat. You have the shelter. You have your all the necessities are met. But people still work very hard because they want to be rich, right? So that's actually the line you need to draw. Where is actually what is your quota? So and that actually point will come. When we study the Ishobnisha. What is actually bare necessities. So I'm not actually asking to live with the bare necessities. I know that everybody has a family, and not everyone in the family is may not be inclined towards actually devotional practice. So certainly you have to take care of family or your dependents. So but still you should have enough time that is available for your devotional service. Okay. So especially now, even for me, actually, for just to give my personal example, that we always had a choice to actually, to maybe work hard or opt for maybe better position, maybe go to the better country. So the only reason for me to actually move is to earn more money. So I do not think that's the right justification for me to actually, uh, if I have the actually enough things, proper things are given to me here. So unnecessarily, I'm disturbing my situation. You know. So if you have actually what you need, and you just actually, choose to go for some opportunity that will actually, if it's going to disturb your devotional service, then it will become a prayas. You understand what you mean? What I mean?
Yes.
So according to income, to give, I think even last time I mentioned that one of the common example, everybody needed house. You need to have the house for your family. Yes. So according to your actually economic capacity or what you earn, you can buy a house. But everyone cannot really aim for the penthouse, right, or the big villa. So if your earning is not to that limit, and if you're actually buying that house and you're actually straining yourself, getting more and more anxious about paying the mortgage, then you are creating a problem for yourself. Actually you are creating unfavorable situation for yourself. So you should be satisfied with whatever you can buy within your means. That anxiety is manageable, and so you will still have a peace of mind, focus on a devotional service. So that is actually ideal situation, right? But if I actually am earning maybe say maybe $50,000, and I'm aiming for something really some big bungalow that are actually in opulent area that is with outside my means, then actually only I am to be blamed, because I am creating a situation that will disturb my peace of mind and my devotional service. So that will become an over endeavor on my behalf. Okay. So that's why actually we'll read through the further purport, and we can actually discuss this point. Second point here is, yes, now actually somebody is born in poor maybe condition, somebody is born in actually opulent family as well. So you also need to think about why it is like that, right? So we have discussed this in the past as well, right? According to his past karmas. So if somebody is already following actually, this Krishna conscious, path, if you have done some progress in a previous life but couldn't able to finish his journey to go back to Godhead, so he will actually given the another opportunity. So depending on his actual level of progress, he may be born in a aristocratic family, where he do not have to struggle for the money or basic needs of the actually the life. So all those things are taken care. So he has enough time to devote, right, in this lifetime. But somebody may not have done any efforts in the previous life. He may have actually enjoyed material things, try to enjoy himself or his senses. Then in this life, actually, he got opportunity. So he may struggle, in this life. So it's a different situation with everyone. So if somebody has done lot of actual devotional service, has progressed quite a lot on this path, so he will given the birth in a Vaishnava family. So he's very actually nicely situated, because he will trained up. He has the right atmosphere. He has the right training. So that's why actually it's a depend on person to person actually how the situation is, and who's asking the question. So we need to know his background. So we can actually guide accordingly. But we'll still actually put this actually, I will make a note of this question. And at the end of session, we conclude this verse. Then we can actually, seek further clarification from His Grace Amrish Prabhu as well on this one. Take it, Prabhuji?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. And if you're actually asking on behalf of somebody, then we can actually discuss. Maybe with your counselor, Avinash Prabhu as well. He's actually better placed to guide you properly. What is needed. Okay. Okay, I'm still sharing the screen. Okay. Sweet. So that so we're discussing dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho arthayopakalpate, right? So last time we had a discussion on this point where we discussed what is actually the meaning of dharma, right? So we looked at the definition as well, and we also discussed the meaning of apavarg, what it mean by apavarg. So in the material existence, one has to actually work very very hard that that actually the foam comes out of his mouth. That's what we discussed. So even actually he's working very hard, he earned the money, he will be always in a actually anxiety or fear that how to maintain what he has earned. He's always in actually anxiety that he will lose it someday. So this struggle is going on for a long time, for everyone. So you always get actually the living entity in this material world, in this lifetime or even in the previous lifetimes, he finally actually always get frustrated, and finally he has to again face the death. So this is the actually situation of a living entity, and Srila Prabhupada calls it, these are the real miseries of a material existence. Okay, so one has to find a solution. So it's a power, so upper work, one that actually negate these miseries, right? So that you can actually attain by following the dharma, and the dharma, one actually that sustains one's existence, and the actually parodharma, okay, the highest occupational service is actually rendering the devotional service, loving devotional service unto transcendental Lord, that is Lord Sri Krishna. So this is actually ultimate occupational service, and further it goes that one who's engaged in this service means in a devotional service, even if he actually gets the material opulence by the grace of the Lord, he must not engage that in his sense gratification or his family sense gratification. Actually, it should be used in the devotional service only. Okay, so this is especially important for the devotional, actually the devotee, who's practicing the devotional service, that he should not fall prey to this material opulence, because everyone has this actually realization, and you see that actually as long as you are actually in business of serving Krishna, you start rendering service to Krishna, the material opulence comes very easily. So this could be your taste, are you after the material opulence, or actually are you looking to re-establish your relationship with the Lord, and develop a love for Godhead actually. So that's why this point is very very important, and Srila Prabhupada state that actually in his lecture, that this verse is very very important because it talks about the real purpose of a life for all the living entities. Okay, so this is the actually very very important verse that Srila Prabhupada has referred here. So we'll read further and actually we discuss the points. Okay. Okay, I need a volunteer who can read. Okay, yeah, start with the President Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I actually had one question, what Prabhu asked. I had one follow-up question for that. Can I ask now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, so, Prabhuji, when you were explaining, I was thinking on the point that those who are poor, uh, they are forced to have like they are forced to control their senses because they do not have so much resources so that they can go out and do things. While on the other hand, the people who have money, they can choose to do things. So is that a correct understanding that poor people are forced to control their senses because they cannot really enjoy it because they don't have so many resources for it.
It's austerity they have to go through, right? Rather than the controlling the senses, because they do not have means to satisfy, right? Uh, so yeah, there is a clear differentiation between actually one is actually poor and is suffering as a result of it, and one is actually voluntarily giving up the wealth and actually accepting the austerities, right? So is that a question, Prabhuji?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, depend. Yes, Prabhuji. According to own karmas, actually we are subject to the material miseries. So it could be, born in a poor family. So one has to actually work hard to actually get the maybe same amount of money that one is actually somebody is born in a wealthy family, and they don't really have to do anything. But that is just not a favoritism, right? By Krishna, it is as a result of our own karma from this life or previous life. Many lifetimes. We have gone through many bodies, and we must have done, many maybe wrongful things in the past that actually we are subject to sufferings. So everyone is suffering in this material world. That's for sure, right? So even if you're born in a poor family or even if born in a wealthy family, everyone suffers here. So do not actually misunderstood the point that being born in a wealthy family that you do not go through the suffering, right? Yeah, maybe he may not be actually going through all those actually pains, that the poor person has to go through. But according to his karma, he may suffer a different, things, different situation. Some people are born in very wealthy family, but they may be born, maybe disabled. They may be born in a situation that they may not have actually the proper actually, the parents may not be very favorable to them. There could be many other things, actually. If you actually observe in this material world around you, then you will actually realize that even one of the most famous personalities, in this material world, like Michael Jackson, is that right? Michael Jackson. So he was actually very famous, right? Everyone knows him pretty much across the world, but he died alone. I remember the example that we discussed. He died alone. Nobody was around it. Maybe drug overdose or whatever. So he has all the money. He has all the actually fame, but he still suffered, right? So there are many examples like this. There are actually so many so-called celebrities. They commit suicide. So in material world means actually miseries. That's what Srila Prabhupada says that. So we should not uh, actually live in this misunderstanding that if you're born in a wealthy family that you will be better off. Or even if you're born in actually higher planetary system, Srila Prabhupada says suffering is still there. There is a higher standard of life, but in the end, you have to go through this all four stages. You have to take birth, you have to actually get old, you have to actually, you're going to have vadhis, diseases, and finally death. So suffering are there. And again, how you actually, even if you're born in a better situation, how you use your time in this body or in this situation is actually can make a big difference. So if you use your actually wealth and the time available to you in Krishna's service, then you are making the most of the actually the things that has been given to you. So if you don't really have to work for hard for money, you have a lot of time. So if you engage that in Krishna's service, then actually you are making a best use of this bad bargain, whatever the Srila Prabhupada call it. So you will be actually getting out of this entanglement of birth and death. So I'm not, Prabhuji, means the way I understood, the poor people are not actually controlling their senses. They're just suffering their karmas. Okay, there is a difference between actually voluntary accepting the actually austerities and actually suffering as a result of the karma. Is that clear, Prabhuji?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, we'll continue with the purport. I think we'll stop from here.
The first step in human civilization consists of occupational engagements performed according to the scriptural injunctions. The higher intelligence of a human being should be trained to understand basic dharma. In human society, there are various religious conceptions characterized as Hindu, Christian, Hebrew, Mohammedan, Buddhist, and so on. For without religion, human society is no better than animal society. As stated above, dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho arthayo pakalpate. Religion is meant for attaining emancipation, not for getting bread. Sometimes human society manufactures a system of so-called religion aimed at material advancement, but that is far from the purpose of true dharma. Religion entails understanding the laws of God, because the proper execution of these laws ultimately leads one out of material entanglement. That is the true purpose of religion. Unfortunately, people accept religion for material prosperity because of atyahar or an excessive desire for such prosperity. True religion, however, instructs people to be satisfied with the bare necessities of life while cultivating Krishna consciousness. Even though we require economic development, true religion allows it only for supplying the bare necessities of material existence. Jivasya tattva jignasa. The real purpose of life is to inquire about the absolute truth. If our endeavor, prayas, is not to inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. A spiritual aspirant should avoid mundane endeavor.
Yes. So here the first thing is the in human civilization, So there are many occupational engagements. So according to, and they are performed according to the scriptural injunctions. So what that mean is, varnashram dharma. So when we talks about scriptures, what scripture says about actually occupational engagements. So there are the actually prescribed duties depending on which ashram you are. So there is a grahas ashram, there is a vanapras, there is a sannyas, and there is a brahmachari. So in a grahast, there are prescribed duties for grahasthas as well. So all the actually ashramas has the duties actually prescribed for them. So one has to actually execute these duties. And Srila Prabhupada says that if you have this actually the varnashram system properly, if you can able to implement it, then and if you actually do the duties that is prescribed to us properly, then that is actually will elevate us, to the spiritual platform. So the whole actually the purpose of the Vedas is to actually uplift the human civilization to the platform, to the transcendental platform where they can able to render the pure devotional service. Okay. So this is actually the actually varnashram dharma. So it's also called a dharma. It's occupational engagement. So for grahasthas, they are actually allowed to earn money. They are allowed to save some money, to actually take care of their family. And their actually duty is to actually to also help the Brahminical class. They have to donate money, to maintain them as well. So as long as we're doing all these actually duties perfectly, then actually we are fulfilling, the purpose of this varnashram dharma, and actually we are helping ourselves. So the ultimate purpose of varnashram dharma is to actually satisfy the Vishnu, so Lord Krishna, So that is ultimate purpose. But in today's world, actually, especially varnashram dharma means you can see in India, this caste system still exists, which is maybe kind of not a real varnashram dharma, it's a perverted version of varnashram dharma. So it is not according, nobody even know what are the duties they have to actually perform, So actually, as Srila Prabhupada says that, it has been actually used or a mean to actually, maybe make money or suppress somebody else, So that is not done, according to the actually scriptural injunctions, So actually the people are actually contaminating the system, using it for their own advantage. So this is not what is actually varnashram dharma. Varnashram dharma, as it is prescribed in the Vedas, So when you will study the Bhagavad Gita, then you can actually, you will come across all these points, and you can actually go and study what are the actually duties for Brahmanas, what are the duties for Grihasthas, for the Vaishyas, and even for the Shudras. So everybody has a equal opportunity. It is not that if you're born in a Brahminical actually culture or Brahminical family, they will have better chance. Everybody has a equal opportunity. So that is one point. And Srila Prabhupada further says that the religion, the religious concept, so we have many religions today, like a Hindu, Christian, Hebrew. There's Islam, there's Buddhist, And Srila Prabhupada said human society is no better than animal society if it is without a religion. So religion is very, very important because religion is actually will help us to actually get out of this material entanglement. If you actually follow the injunctions properly. So further, it is said that human society sometimes manufacture a system called so-called religion aimed at material advancement. But this is a far from the purpose of a true dharma. Okay, so we can see that actually in action in Kali Yuga, right? There are many actually cheaters that actually who are in the name of a religion. They're misguiding people. They try to make money out of them and all that. That is happening everywhere. Means I have seen that actually there are some of the pujaris, in India. I have seen it myself that actually they are so-called pujari of a big temples, but they do the puja during the daytime and in the night they are actually gambling. Actually they are selling what they receive from the people as offering to the god and try to actually make money out of it. So as in Vedic system, actually, everybody, the grihastha is supposed to give some donation, So now this actually the Brahminical class, they do not go door to door, they used to go in the past to collect some, the flour or milk, but now they do not go and they demand actually when the actually offerings to the god in a raw form, they do not want the flour, they want actually grain so they can sell it off. So, this is not something actually I heard from somewhere, I have seen it, this is happening. And because we are here in a right association, we are guided by, actually the devotees, His Grace Ambrish Prabhu. So now we can clearly identify what is actually true religion and who's a true Brahmana. A Brahmana is somebody is not born in a Brahminical family or one who actually dresses like a Brahmana and do the actually deity worship. He's not Brahmana. So if he's following all the actually prescribed duties of a Brahmana, then he's real Brahman. So anybody can become a Brahman. So this is actually is a sad reality that we see that, but not everybody is like that. There are also actually pure devotees who are still there. And next point, religion entails understanding the laws of God because the proper execution of these laws ultimately lead one out of a material entanglement. And this is the true purpose of religion. Okay, so the religion's true purpose here, the purpose of religion is to help one to get out of this cycle of birth and death. So we are all actually stuck, So as long as we are actually satisfying our own senses, as it is said, we are engaged in the business of Duratma, who's only interested in satisfying ourselves, myself or my family or my dependent. Then we are actually getting ourselves entangled even more and more day by day. That is very hard to get out of this entanglement. But if you actually engage in devotional service, and if you actually make an effort to satisfy Krishna and his devotees, then actually we are helping ourselves because this will actually help us, that we will not actually earn any karmas out of this, definitely not the bad karmas. But we are performing devotional service, which will help us to actually get out of this birth and death, birth and death cycle. That we have the actually a good chance of actually attaining the liberation. And you will be actually get to the platform where you may be able to actually render a pure devotional service. So this is actually real purpose of a dharma, So in today's world, it as I said, it has been actually no one is really following, dharma, true dharma, No one is really actually asking, even actually the Brahmanas, they are not asking people to perform the austerities. Nobody's forcing them. Nobody's telling them you're not allowed to eat meat. You're not allowed to drink. You're not allowed to, gamble. So nobody says that. because everyone is actually worried about their actual relationship. They try to protect their own interests. So the actually so-called Brahman in the temple, he will not actually, he's not going to actually what it called chastise people who are not following these rules and regulation. Okay, so they are welcoming everyone. They're accepting, actually the money or donation from them, and this is going on. Further, Srila Prabhupada is saying here is that people, they need to be satisfied with the bare necessities of life. Even if you require a little bit of economic development, true religion allows it only for the supplying basic necessities of a material existence. So, Om Prabhu, as we discussed, so this is something, it's a very tough instruction even for the devotees, right? So, how one should live with the bare necessities of a life. So, if you actually practically look, maybe you may say, there are many devotees, they may not be actually seem to be living with the bare necessities of life. They also have the opulent houses, maybe, possession, material possession, and all that. But Srila Prabhupada also, even in the past discussion, we said that, yes, even if the actually opulence come to you as a result, with the Lord's mercy, we should not actually engage that for a sense gratification. Everything should be used in Krishna's service. So Srila Prabhupada always instructed that, even the actually opulence comes to you, you use it in Krishna's service and not for your own, enjoyment. Even actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he instructed devotees, devotees should only actually accept simple prasad, ahar, simple ahar, not very opulent, like, actually very sweet or a lot of fried things, and the people normally, the food that we enjoy. We should actually accept simple, the chapati dal. We should be satisfied with that kind of actually ahar, and that is actually good for your own body and for your devotional service as well, because that will keep you in a good health. And also, devotees should wear very simple clothing. So in your program, as you see, that we normally wear the khadi white, so that is what is, for the devotee, so it is, as you can see, that no one is really wearing, really opulent clothing, so this is actually good, it will help you to actually remain simple. And when you actually, your lifestyle is such that, your actually needs are very minimum, then you don't really have to work hard as well. So if you keep your actually needs minimum, that means you don't really have to run behind the money. Because if you increase your actually needs, I need that, I need this, then yes, you have to work hard, because you require money to maintain that lifestyle. That's why Srila Prabhupada says that if an endeavor, our real endeavor is to inquire about actually the God, Jivasya Tattva Jignasa. We should inquire about the absolute truth. And if our endeavor, and if you're not looking to do that, then we'll be looking to actually inquire about other things. And what we inquire, how to actually enjoy, right? That's what actually normally we see that is happening. I see that happening in my own family members. So people are always planning about next party, where we want to go, where we want to have a party, what we want to actually cook, how we should actually go and celebrate the birthdays. So these things happening, this is a reality. And that's why Srila Prabhupada actually says that it's best to make your entire family Krishna conscious. So everybody is on the same line. Everybody thinking in the same direction. So that will actually help each other to progress very fast. But that is not practical for everyone. There's always a situation that one person is following, try to become a devotee, another person is not interested at all. But that should not actually dampen our spirit. So we should actually keep actually making effort in this right direction, keep our needs simple. That way, actually, we are not over endeavoring for materialistic thing. So our endeavor, we should increase our endeavor. One should over endeavor in a devotional actually activities, right? So you should aim to chant more rounds. You should aim to actually read more scriptures. Try to understand or try to preach more to more and more people. So that over endeavoring or prayas is beneficial for a devotional progress. So over endeavoring for the actually material things is not actually very helpful, So what we're studying here is the codes of actually Krishna consciousness, So what is good for my devotional service and what is not good for my devotional service? That is what we're discussing in this actually nectar of instruction. So in this verse, actually, these are the 6 impediments, that we actually discussing one by one, that can actually destroy our devotional service or hamper or stop our devotional progress. Okay, did we cover all the points? Yes. So you understood now what is actually true purpose of a dharma. So the one purpose is what we discuss here is the actually we should actually get out of this material entanglement. So the actually materialistic life, and try to actually make a progress towards a actually devotional life. So once we liberate from this materialistic attachment, then you are already liberated in one sense. And the another purpose Srila Prabhupada stated is that any religion that will actually help you develop a true love for Krishna is a best religion. Srila Prabhupada is not insisting on particular religion. He said any religion, if it leads to love of Godhead, that is the best religion. Okay, and if you follow the injunctions of actually the religions, the laws of God, it will automatically actually stop all your over endeavor for the materialistic things. We'll understand this point, as we actually study further in the purport and what we studied in a previous text as well, text number 1, Vacho Vegam. So actually, when we control Atyahar, then actually the urge of a tongue is automatically controlled. You don't have to actually artificially try to control the tongue. Okay, let me share the screen. So we'll continue our discussion. Right. Oh, actually, sir, is it a 448? Okay, I think we should stop here. I was actually wanted to actually finish the actually Prajalp today, but I think because of the question and answer, I think we spent a lot of time in the discussion. And Amrish Prabhu has requested us to finish the class, 10 minutes before, so everyone have enough time to take a break and come right on time for the next session. Anyone has any questions that what we discussed so far? I can understand we are going a little bit slow because we are getting a lot of questions, so it's very important to answer them as well, because unless you understood all this point correctly, it doesn't make much sense to go on to the next point. Okay, so we'll stop here. We got 10 minutes. You can take a break and come for the next session, and we'll continue our discussion from the next week. Okay. Thank you, devotees, and thank you, Amrish Prabhu, for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We'll take a break now, 10 minutes. Hare Krishna.